Yo, 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 this is Evan from Blacktop Queen,
And Nate.
and we're hanging out with Rob, Front Row Live.
I first heard Desert and immediately I told Nate, I was like, we need to set something up before they release new music, before anybody else, gets more attention from them. But Desert is actually the new band, the new sound of the band. Now there's two of you. So let's talk a little bit about that process of going from a three-piece to the two-piece that you are today.
Yeah, two-piece. It was originally a three-piece. Everything was just live, and we cut everything in the studio. And then me and Nate continued to write and work on music, and the sound evolved. And it kind of was no longer this just super grassroots, in the studio thing. It became more of, we just wanted to make the best music we could. We wanted to make the coolest sounds we could. And so we kind of started with that instead of just, we jam in a room until we come up with something. Right. And so then you evolve, you start coming up with different instruments, different ideas. And in that process, we lost our bass player and then just decided like we could do this on our own. We could do this our own creative way and bring people in if we need them and just do it two-piece if we need it. So yeah, it became less about personnel and more just about the coolest music we could make,
Right. And you guys were initially writing an EP when all of this kind of happened. So what made you realize that the sound needed to change, though?
Well, I think, because I don't know if you know that, like, we had an EP that was finished.
Right.
Or the whole process was we made this music and then kind of started getting going, and then we signed up with BMG for publishing, and then we kind of made a full EP with sort of direction and inputs from all the outside influences besides the band, and then in that whole process had the bass player thing happen where it wasn't working out anymore, and then essentially got to the point where Evan and I really like listened late one night and had a real like epiphany moment of like, dude, we've got so off course from what we want to be doing, and like a band that like we were pretty off course from a band that either of us would have listened to for fun, and so
You guys weren't being true to yourselves anymore.
essentially, yeah. And I think we were a little too trusting of the new outside influences that had like started to come on board, and like I think they were trying to help, but we weren't good. We weren't doing a good job of filtering what was coming in, and so we scrapped it all, and then Desert was the first song of that new thing, and then now we have more. Now we have another whole like batch of songs finished of this new true to ourselves band that we're proud to be in thing, So that's kind of where we've landed now.
Now, being that you kind of made that decision while big things like BMG kind of were on the table with you guys, I mean, I'm sure that's kind of like risky. I'm sure that's something that like kind of made you guys hesitate. Like, do we make this drastic change? Like, do we just keep doing, like, how were you able to make that successfully?
Well, I think for us, it was the journey of we initially got the interest and we got people involved because we were doing whatever we wanted to do.
Okay.
And that's what kind of got us everything we had. And then we started changing things, just because of outside pressure.
Yeah.
Once we kind of started getting people interested. And then we noticed that we started getting less interested in what we were doing.
Yeah.
That actually it was the reverse effect of that people who were supporting us were less interested in what we were doing.
Okay.
And it was kind of this, like, you don't know what you want until you see it almost, And so for us, it was like, we kind of realized, oh my gosh, we've lost how we got our way here, got back into that, and then just kind of said, that's our new mantra, is like, we're just going to do what we want, how we want it every time. And, me and Nate's opinions is really all that matters at the end of the day,
That's great that you guys were able to think about that, because I feel like people get lost with everything coming in that's so great. People get lost about their true identity, why they started being a band in the first place.
Well, and it was like another, I think, risk we took that we'll see how this all pans out. But like basically the timeline of everything got pushed like a year for us to like scrap everything. Like it wasn't just a musical decision. It was like, dude, we're gonna have to 6 to 8 more months go back into the studio and not be a band out playing shows and that like people are excited about and stuff. And that was kind of a scary decision. And now we're back. We played our second show like a couple nights ago as this new band, and we're feeling really, really good about it and really, really positive about it. But that was another, like, music aside, was another scary thing to be like, okay, we're gonna have to wait like another year now for this to all come to fruition. So yeah, it was a really hard decision, I think, for us to ditch that music.
Right. Well, it seems like Desert's doing really good.
Yeah.
Just being the only track out there, like I said, it got my attention and made me want to jump in and immediately work with you guys. So it's like I feel like the fans are kind of like feeling the same way. But tell me a little bit more about Desert and what is it about this song and the sound that this is who Blacktop Queen is?
Well, it was the first song written post this decision. So it was, you know, we were in Joshua Tree writing some songs, and this was actually, we were finishing up that old EP, and we went out there with the goal just to finish it and kind of get it ready to go. And me and Nate, late night working, just kind of looked at each other and realized, like, we don't even like our own music. We don't like what we're doing. Yeah. And the first, like, piece of music written post that realization was that song. And so it's kind of the flagship. It's kind of like the starting line of, hey, this is who we are. This is kind of us not thinking about anything. This is us not overthinking anything. Right. This is us just kind of gut reaction making music, and this is what it sounds like. And we also feel like it's exactly a great representation of what we sound like as a band. And then obviously we're dynamic. We have a bunch of different sounds, but I would say Desert's a great, like, first listen to be like, okay, this is our inspirations coming in. This is our originality coming in. This is what we're into, you know?
Right. Now, when you guys were writing Desert, did the writing and recording process change at all from the previous band to this new sound?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying earlier, originally it was literally like bring an idea of a song in maybe, and we as a band just get together and jam it out live. And then, you know, that's all that mattered, was just like, as long as there was bass, drums, and guitar, like that's all we let on the track. It was very, very simple and very minimalist, which was great. But now we're a lot more just whatever sounds cool. You know, we don't put any restrictions on ourselves, any this is how it has to be or whatever. It just has to sound like us, and we have to love it. So that's how it's. Before it was all tracked live, grassroots. Now it's a little bit more however. It doesn't matter. It could be tracked live, it could be tracked all in the studio, whatever. Right. You know.
And you guys are both producers, so you guys are both constantly working on the new music. How do you guys, you know, from the first time that you guys got into the studio together, like what was that chemistry like, and what is it about each other that you guys basically work so good together?
I think it's been an evolving relationship, you know, because when you're first making music together, I think you're a little more inclined to be like, not like nicer, but like you know, you don't know the other person as well. So the first few times we worked together, it was a lot of like, if you didn't like something, you'd be like, yeah, man, that's really, really great, but like maybe we could try this or that. And like now, you know, we're like a couple years later of working together, and it's a lot more. It's a lot more to the point, and we have a good flow at this point of like, you know, I think also we can kind of predict like, oh man, I think Evan's gonna think this is dope, or I would guess he would be like, I know Nate will like this, and I know Nate won't like that. Right. So there's a little bit of, now that we know each other's taste really well, and that whole thing, and we can just kind of like, we don't have to sugarcoat things as much, so we can just like, oh man, I don't like that, let's do something else, and the other person's not offended because we've worked together for so long. Right. At this point, it's like the relationship is there. Right. So you can, so it's evolved. It's that working relationship's evolved, and I think eventually, once we get this music out and going, I know something else we'd like to do is like produce other artists and stuff as well. We're super focused on ourselves and our thing right now, and kind of getting that to be the best it can be. But I know that like that's in the back of our minds too, is that interest that like, I know he's produced people before by himself, and I produced people before by myself, but I feel like we've kind of created a cool thing that we feel like we could offer people down the road once, you know, once things were rolling.
I know you're like a touring musician as well, so is that something that you're gonna put on the back burner now to focus on these next 6 months, since, you know, like you mentioned earlier, the timeline kind of changed. So is that going to change like everything else outside of the band also?
It's weird. That is one of those things that like, it's always kind of in flux because you never know what, you know, how this timeline's going to pan out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a year ago when we had the old EP done before we had made that big decision, like there's no way I would have guessed it would have taken another year for the music to come out. So in my mind, I was like, by this time, in my head, Blacktop was already touring full time. Right. But then we made that decision and everything completely changed, and now we just put out our first song like 2 weeks ago. So I think...
Not a month ago?
Not a month ago. Yeah. And so I think like I'm also just very used to in my life never knowing what's going to happen a month out. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I do know my like touring dates. I really only tour with one other person right now. And like I know all those dates to finish up
so it's not gonna affect
the record. No. So it's actually been really amazing, like how everything has kind of timed out. Like we got to play the Troubadour and it worked out perfectly, and then like we got to play Emo Night and that worked out perfectly. And so far there hasn't been like a conflict, and it's just like kind of puzzle pieces that worked out great. And like I think too, everybody from the other like the other artists I tour with, like they're all super supportive. You know, I think almost all of them have come to a Blacktop Queen show at some point, you know, and like, so it's cool. It's like, it's very much the two worlds are existing really, really nicely right now. And then eventually, you know, I know Blacktop eventually, but I'm so hesitant to like say the timeline because it could come way faster. It could come way later. But I know eventually, yeah, it's going to be full touring, all out, all the time. Right. You know.
Let's talk a little bit more about your live show. Like you mentioned, you had 2 shows already with the new song. What can fans expect on the live show? What is a Blacktop Queen live show like today?
Fun. We definitely have fun with it. We don't, you know, we try to be fearless on stage. We try to be ourselves at the same time, you know. Me and Nate, we bring a bass player with us live, and then we run some stuff, and yeah, we just have fun. Like our music's, you know, I feel like it's got energy, it's got nails to it, but it's also, you know, some songs are laid back and fun, and so I think for us it's just being ourselves on stage. You know, I think part of us making that decision to change everything and write a new EP was just kind of based on like the concept of like fearlessness, like not going with what you should be doing or what, you know, people you're working with or peers or whatever is saying you should do, or following trends or whatever. And I think the same goes live. Is like we're just up there going for it, you know, and there's gonna be times when we'll probably make fools of ourselves, but that's the point, you know. So we're just up there having fun, and it's energetic, you know. We're not in our shells sitting there scared, you know. We just go crazy, have a good time.
Now, are you guys testing out new music on these tours? Are you guys using old music still? Like, what can we expect?
Okay. It's on. There's one song that it's the same song, but the production completely. I mean, it's a whole new track. You know what I mean? There's nothing remaining from the old version of it in this new version. So that's the only one song that like it's called Blackout that like made the jump. But other than that, you know, it's all new music. And like I would say from the recorded to the live versions, maybe like it does get amped up energetically live a little more. You know, maybe it gets a little more raw live, you know, just because that's Evan and my tendency is to like get more aggressive on stage when you're actually performing it, you know. Yeah. And I think to our live show too, I think also like right now we kind of work with what we got, like as far as we're trying to do like most everything is gold, and like I've got a leopard print drum kit and stuff, and like but there's also you know, if we had all the money in the world, we'd be doing some crazy.
Right. That's for the tour though. That's once the new music drops and then there's a tour going on, and then you get all crazy with that.
We definitely have a lot of like really cool live show ideas that are just like right now it's just $ issues, but like they're there and they're waiting to to be paid for to make it happen. Because there's a lot of like shit we would love to do that will happen eventually. Yeah.
So right now the fans are, they currently have Desert. Are you guys planning on releasing singles? Are you guys gonna just dive into the studio and work on that EP or album or whatever you guys are working on?
Yeah. We're not super album focused right now. We're just singles focused right now. And we have a bunch of songs backlogged and ready to go. The next thing we're going to be putting out is a video for Desert.
Okay.
That's already done. So that's going to come out really soon.
Nice.
And then in the next couple months, we'll drop another single. And we'll probably just do that for like the foreseeable future, is just drop singles and videos and content and stuff like that. We also know that everyone, including our attention span, is very short. And so, I can't remember the last time I listened to 12 songs, so.
Yeah. I think it's harder nowadays to create 12 songs that you want to listen back to back.
Yeah, and I think especially for new bands, it's really hard because, you're trying to get people's attention. You're trying to show them who you are. And if we drop 12 songs like that, people will hear one or two. And, or maybe the select few who really get behind it early, will listen to all 12 or something. But for us, it's all about getting, just little bits of content out continuously so that people can have something to grab a hold of and show their friends or whatever, Right.
So for those that haven't heard of you guys yet, or the new single, what is Blacktop Queen all about?
What are we all about?
What's our life story and goal? And
What do you guys want?
I'll say something, but then like I feel like Evan needs to say something too because because I have thought about like that question, and I feel like Evan and I we like half work on music, half like sit around and talk about life, and I think, obviously like we've been spending a couple of years doing this together now, and so we're just going through life together and all the things that come with it, and I know a journey or whatever that we've both been on that's definitely translated a lot into the band from our personal lives is the really digging deep and like trying to be your like fullest self or just trying to be yourself. Right. You know what I mean? And not letting, I know we kind of said it earlier, but not letting external pressures or things influence you or get you off track or anything like that. And I think that's something that like our band went through, that we had to kind of go full circle to like get back to really getting the pulse on who we were and like being able to put that out in its purest form. But I know like in our personal lives, that's also like a thing that we both are going through too, and like trying to get to that like, okay, everybody grows up with like external family pressures, external cultural pressures, or your friend groups or your people you work with or whatever, and it's like I think we're just on that journey trying to really like break out of those constraints and really be yourself. So to answer your question,
you're trying to be famous. To quote an old song, yeah? Or is that a new song?
Yes. Oh shit. You did your research.
Oh,
wow. No, yeah, I think in regards to that, I think we're trying to like definitely put out the best shit we can put out, and then hopefully people like it and we can play shows and have people come out and enjoy it and like live that lifestyle that's really rewarding and fun. But to answer your first question about like what's Blacktop Queen all about, I think it would be like being yourself would be like the super short version if it was up to me to say that. But I know Evan might have a thing to say.
Well, first of all, I thought when you said try to be famous, I thought you were talking about the Yodel Kids' new single, which is called Famous.
Yeah, that's where my head was.
Which is a great song, by the way. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to boil it down quickly, it's kind of, fearlessness, just being yourself all the way. And, there's going to be times when you get a lot of no's and a lot of people not liking what you're doing and a lot of people disagreeing with what you're doing. And I think for us, it's just like, all we know how to be is ourselves, and anytime we've ever not done that, it's been a bad thing. So it's kind of, it's just an application to everything we're doing is like try to live our lives to where we do what we want to do every day and have fun doing it, love everyone around us. And the music is a representation of that. It's just like being who we are all the way through, Right. That's it. Yeah.